Hello. It's Bernadine again. This is part two, and I'm hoping that I start off, basically talking about how I finished off the last time, because I don't remember exactly how it all ended up, but I always want to start by a little prayer that the Lord will bless all of yous. And this is, I'm doing this to help people out because so many people are wounded. So many people have had their homes destroyed for no reason. It could have been a little counseling, a little this and that. Some of you didn't even need counseling. Some of you just had homes destroyed because people wanted to. Because you might have been because you were Christians, or like on our case, my grandson was taken, and there's all of us families that we all have good records, and he could have been brought to one of us. They didn't want to bring him to us because they hated us so bad. Myself, it wasn't my husband they hated me because I'm really blunt when it comes to Jesus. I'm not ashamed of my Jesus. He's the one that created me, he's the one that died for me, and I love him, and I thank him for what he's done for me, and I will never be ashamed of him. But there's people that don't like him, they hate him, they despise him. But every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. You all stand before him. I'm going to stand before him, and you're going to stand before him. We're all going to give an account. There's angels keeping track of absolutely every word, every action that we do. So think about it. Anybody out there that's watching that is doing these evil things to people, you better watch what you're doing. And people that are wounded out there, I feel for you people. I love you people. And I just ask the Lord that he'll mend you and that you'll go to Jesus, because he will stick closer than a brother. He won't leave you. You can see there's so many stories, oh my goodness, true stories that click on to just all kind of like true things. True stories, miracle things, and encounters with angels, and all kind of different shows, and click on to Jesus stuff. You'll come up with all kind of things that people talk about when they've experienced in heaven. It's just gorgeous what God's got prepared for those that love him. People that don't love him aren't going there, and this life only lasts for a while. We are only here on earth for as long as we live. After this, it goes on for eternity. Life after this is eternity. So we have to be careful how we're going to live. So, when we leave this earth, we're going to go somewhere. So make sure you're with Jesus, in your heart. But before I start continuing, I wanted to read a little something in 1 Corinthians 3. Like I said, I'm not going to be doing a bunch of preaching. I'm just going to read a little scripture, just to get talking about, so people can get fed a little something, But it says, brothers and sisters, I wouldn't speak to you as people would, like by the Holy Spirit. I had to speak to you as people who were still following ways of the world. You aren't growing as Christ wants you to. You are still like babies. The word I spoke to you were like milk, not like solid food. You're not ready for solid food yet, and you still aren't ready for it. You are still following the ways of the world. Some of you are jealous. Some of you argue. How many people, see, the Lord, what he means by that, he wants us to grow. He doesn't want us to stay like a baby on solid, or on a bottle all of our life, on milk. He wants us to grow and get on solid food, just like we do with our child, our baby. We raise them up from the milk onto food, and that he's growing. Well, that's how we have to be in the Word, and that's how we have to be in our walk with the Lord. That's how we have to be with treating people. And so that's why I'm telling this, is because we've had a lot of people that's, like I just read, jealous. Jealous people that are selfish. Jealous people are selfish people. Those are selfish people. Those are people that are jealous because they don't have what you have, or they don't look like you, or they might not act like you, or there's just something, or because you have Jesus and they hate you. You know, y'all can have Jesus. I'm glad to give Jesus to you. That's what this is about. It's about bringing Jesus to you, to the world that is lost. You don't have to be jealous over a Christian person. You don't have to be jealous because of something that I might have and you don't. It's Jesus. You don't have to hate me over it. You can grow up and get off of the milk and get on solid food like Jesus is talking about. He's not. It's in the Word, but I'm talking to you about. I'm trying to explain to some people how we have to actually grow. If we grow in the Word, then we're going to grow in reading it and knowing how to live. See, getting into the Word is growing on solid food, because this is our food, our daily bread, and this is what we are. We have to, read it every day. If you don't want to read it every day, read it a couple times a week. And think about what you read and grow on that and learn on that. And that way you know how to treat people, because Jesus said to be like Him. Try our best to be like Him. Love. And that's what this is about, is love. How can we love if we don't know Jesus' love? If we don't know Jesus, we can't love. Like that scripture I said, 1 John 4:20. If people say they love God and they hate their brother, they're liars. Because how can you say you love God, you haven't even seen Him, but you hate your brother and sister? Oh, that means anybody. So you got to think about that. But anyway, I wanted to continue with the story. I think the last time I talked, we left off with talking about my grandson got moved out of the house, moved out of the house and into foster care, and then the foster people didn't like him. And he ended up going in, it was really, he went through a lot of traumatized, and he ended up in another foster home. And it's, my granddaughter, she took it so hard that she couldn't handle it. She ended up ODing. She OD'd 3 times, and the 3rd time she OD'd at her dad's house. And he called me, and I was over there within minutes, and she was just sitting there black. She couldn't handle what's happening to her life. She was actually, when she was seeing this one lady that moved away, she was actually doing really well. And then somebody else came in the picture, and it took her downhill so bad. This person put so much on her. She was like a monkey on her back. Think about putting a monkey on your back, and then that monkey had to keep on picking up all of these bags. This person saying, bend over, pick up another bag. Bend over, picking up another dozen, another thing of bananas. And that gets heavy after a while. You can't hardly carry the load because it's so heavy. Picture it like that. It gets so heavy that you can't bend over anymore to pick up another load. Well, this is what this person did to my granddaughter. It made it so heavy for her that she didn't know how to go about it anymore. And there was so many meetings to go to, so many classes. And if she wasn't there an hour early to see her son, a couple of times she was like 3 minutes late, and she canceled the whole thing. And actually the meeting wasn't until 4, and if she wasn't there by 3, then she canceled the whole thing. You know what that did to my granddaughter and my grandson? He couldn't wait to see his mom. He looked forward to that all week long. And this person did it out of hate, total hate. There was no other word for it. It was still a whole hour to sit there, but she was 3 minutes late, and she canceled the whole thing. Why would you do something like that? Because of jealousy, hatefulness, and like I said, you do things like that because of something that happened in your life, so you want somebody else to go through it. That's not the way we treat people. You know, when you're in the system like that, you're supposed to be mending these families, and this wasn't being done with my granddaughter at all. She was putting on a heavy load. And what do people do, especially nowadays? What do we hear a lot of? People can't handle the pressure, they're going on drugs. A lot of them go to the doctors, and that's what she was doing. She was going to the doctors to get stuff for stress, stuff for to help her through all that. And then it ends up leading to bigger things. And she couldn't handle the pressure of this, and it was hard. And when she knew that her son was going away, and he wasn't with us, took him totally away from all of us. There's a lot of us. There's his grandpa, there's my daughter, there's my son. We're all around here. We all have good names, nothing on any of us. All got good records. Instead of putting him with one of us, they took him and did what they did to him. And there's so much more on that too. But anyway, my granddaughter, she ended up ODing over at her dad's house. And when I got there, she was all black. It was horrifying. You know, we took her out of the chair, put her on the floor, and I had 911 on the phone. You can hear it. I mean, if you want to hear it, it's crazy. I was screaming Jesus the whole time because that's what I do. I call out on Jesus. He's the first name that comes out of my mouth when something happens, because he's the one that's going to be there for you instantly. Like if any of you've ever caught like an angel on camera and stuff like that, it's amazing. Because that's what God does. He sends the angels. He promises us that in Psalms 91. He'll send his angels, you know, to watch over us. And this is what the Lord does. But we put her on the floor, and that wasn't working. I mean, like, I couldn't get her to come around, and I couldn't even do anything but scream Jesus the whole time. And I said, let's take her out to the vehicle and get her to the emergency room. And then we get her in there. I pull the seat back, and I'm like, how can we do this work on her if I'm driving? So we take her back out. We put her in the snowbank. When they say that helps, you know, put them in ice water, something like that if they OD. I know they have a lot of things that people actually should pick up to carry along with you. If you've seen an emergency, you can help that person to save a life, maybe save multiple lives. And anyway, we put her in the ice. She still wasn't coming around. Well, we picked her up, brought her back in the house, and 911 was on their way over. And put her on the floor in the house. She still wasn't responding. I'm still screaming. And then all of a sudden she came around. And of course it's God. I give Jesus a praise, number one. He's totally the one that is there for us anytime we need him. You might not feel him right away. You might not think that he's there, but he's there. He sticks closer than a brother. He is your friend. And he will never leave you nor forsake you. And he's just awesome. That's why he went to the cross. He went to the cross. You know, Easter's coming up, and it's actually my biggest thing out of the year, because what he did for us. He went and died, and it's amazing what Jesus did for us. Like the other day, I know I'm getting off of that a little bit, but I seen a show on TV, and they actually put up like a picture of Jesus, and they did these 40 slaps on his back, and it was 39 40 hits, but -1. But anyway, it showed them doing that, and time it was done, there was nothing but red. It was just down to the bone. It was awful. This is what Jesus did for us. He did that for you. Anybody out there listening, he did it for you because he loves you. You mean everything to him. If you were the only one, he would have done it for you. That's how important you are to Jesus. And he'll forgive you for all the cruel things you've done to people, and even to yourself. Hating yourself is hating somebody. Like, you know, don't hate yourself. Love yourself. How can you love somebody else if you hate yourself? you know. And if you got all this hurt and bitterness inside, just seek the Lord, because He's the first one that would be there for you to help you. I mean, I've seen so many stories where people, they just come to Jesus and they said it's like a load being lifted off their shoulders. It's like amazing what the Lord will do for you. He totally heals people instantly. Sometimes people, it takes them a little longer. Sometimes I think it depends a lot of times on their belief. A lot of times people, their tongue is their worst weapon. So, you know, when you go around with your tongue and you say, oh, no, I don't believe in this, or no, He won't heal me, it won't happen to me, or no, this is too much. Nothing's too much for Jesus. That's what He went to the cross for. Nothing is too big for Him. How can it be too big for Him when He created all of this? If He created all of us, if God created all of us, it's not too big for Him to heal everything that you need. And so I can tell you, like I said, my last one for years I can tell stories about what the Lord has done for me. It's just been an amazing trip, because I can tell you stories, and I'm going to tell you a lot of our stories. But anyway, my granddaughter, the two ambulance showed up, and the drug force task showed up, and she ended up okay, you know, thank the Lord. And she couldn't handle it, and so she wanted to go, like, you know, 2 weeks, like a week and a half after that. That is actually when my grandson was gone, and that's when she said, I can't handle this. I just gotta do this, you know. And I said, what can I do to help you? You know, there's so many people that have died, and she actually has friends that died. They've OD'd. And it's just a terrible shame. She had a really good buddy that lived not too far away from here, and he went to rehab, and the day he got out, he OD'd and died. And it's, you know, she's living with that. And then just found out just not too long ago, somebody else she knew died. You know, another OD. I mean, people are losing children, their families all over the place from such a bad thing that's going on. Such a bad addiction around the world right now. It's just terrible. And some of you people that have lost your families, I mourn for you big time, because God sees the grief and the pain that you are in. It's like, you can't even describe it, because it's like your heart's been ripped out. It's just so bad for you. And God is there. He wants to mend you. He wants to heal you. He wants you to give it to Him. He wants to take your hurt and your pain. And so just give it to Jesus. You teenagers out there, you're craving for Jesus, you know. You need Jesus. You might not feel like you're craving for Jesus, but actually your spirit inside is like longing. And it's Jesus you need. You need Him to fill that longing. Find a good Bible-based church that you can get in with some good Christian people that'll help you out. You know, some churches I know aren't so good, and then there are some churches that are good. Or you might find a good church that half of them are like the rotten apples and some of them are good. You know, it's like nobody's perfect. Everywhere we go, it's not going to be perfect. We're all human. We've all sinned and come short of His glory. But it's very important to get into some good people. But she couldn't handle knowing that her son was gone, and she said, I can't deal with this. She said, I'm just going to go end it. And I said, what am I going to do? What can I do to, you know, I couldn't deal with seeing what I already just seen a week and a half before that. And she said, take me to a friend's house. And I said, for what? She said, well, I want to go get something that'll help me, so I don't want to do this, so I don't get high, so I don't, you know, feel like I want to go crazy and just end my life. You know, I mean, we've already been through such trauma. And that's why I'm going to do this. I'm doing this for people that've been traumatized because we've been there. Seeing my granddaughter like that was horrifying. It was just terrible. I mean, I would not want anybody to experience it. And so I took her to this place. She said, I goes, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm going to go in there and get me some Taboxone. And I did it. I let her do it because I didn't want to go through that again. And it's been a lie, and we've had so many things told about us that I took my granddaughter down to get drugs with my grandson in the vehicle, and we've had lies after lies after lies, and people have believed those lies. You know why? Because they've never directly come and talked to me about it. Why don't they come and talk to the real person that went through it? You know why? Like I mentioned, people love to gossip. People are into it. They get a kick off of gossiping. And that's so true. That's why Jesus says your tongue is your worst weapon. And you won't make it to heaven with gossiping. You won't be blessed with gossiping. You won't be in good health with gossiping. It's just a bad sin to God. It's just terrible. Jesus didn't get with his disciples and gossip. He went up to the people and he rebuked them. He got after them. And anyway, so I took her to this place, and it was they were watching me because they pulled us over. They searched my van. They didn't find anything. They asked me. I said, yeah, I took my granddaughter there. Well, the one guy that was there was at the house when she OD'd, and he knew that I did this because what I just went through. And he goes, did you know what she's going to get? And I goes, yeah. My granddaughter said, you didn't know what you were doing. And I said, yes, I did. And she didn't remember telling me, because I was there to save her. I wanted to save her. I didn't want her to die. I know you parents out there that if you lost your children, oh God, or your spouse or something, I know you wish so bad you could be in my shoes. Because you rather have your child around or your spouse around or your brother or sister or somebody that's died, or maybe your best friend. You much rather have done what I've done to have your friend around, your family. But you didn't think of it, or it just didn't click, or it just didn't maybe happen this way or whatever. But I've had hell since I did that for my granddaughter. And she's alive today because I made that decision to do something to save her. And this stuff, Taboxone, is supposed to be, you go to a doctor and you're supposed to get it to help you go down off of drugs. Well, this was an emergency kind of thing. We couldn't just go to a doctor and get Taboxone that day. And this wasn't something that we could just do right now, right then. This is something she had to have right at that moment because she was ready to end her life. And so that was a decision that was quickly made to do something to save my granddaughter. And now she's alive. She's in prison because this took her down a path with all the traumatizing that she went through, that they put her through, took her down a road when she was so stoned out of her mind, she broke into some places. And so they got her for, not breaking and entering, but home invasion. So that's why she's in prison. She got 3 years out of that. And I know the Lord's going to work a miracle in her life because I'm going to fight for her. And because my granddaughter wouldn't be there today if she wouldn't have been harassed by this person and by other people. There's other people involved. Actually, when we were going to court to start out with, it was looking really good. She had favor from people. But then this person came in and it totally flipped the thing around. Like I said, it was a monkey on her back. And just kept picking up more bananas, more bananas. It got so heavy for her, she couldn't carry the load. It was hard. She loves her children. She loved that little boy. He was her life. And I won't give up on her. I'm fighting for her, and I will fight for her because the truth is going to come out in that. The truth is going to come out, and people are going to be exposed. The people that have done these things to her and to my grandchildren, they're going to be exposed. You will be exposed. And I just want to tell this story because I want the truth to be heard, and I want you to please spread it around. And we're going to continue on the next one. I'm not sure what day, because I say the day and then it doesn't happen that way, but it won't be long. And we'll tune in again for part 3. And God bless you. Remember, hang on to Jesus. Talk to you soon.